The power of solitude. A woman who always spends time alone is very dangerous. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about a woman who many people often misunderstand. The woman who chooses to spend time alone. She's the woman who enjoys her own company, who embraces quiet moments, and who thrives in solitude. She's not lonely in the sense most people think. She's not incomplete. She's not desperate for company. Instead, she's a woman who has discovered a powerful secret, that true strength, deep self-love, and unstoppable growth are often forged in the moments when you're alone. You see, we live in a world that constantly tells us we need others to be whole, that we need a relationship, a social circle, a busy schedule to feel valuable. But this woman defies that narrative. She knows that spending time alone isn't a sign of weakness or loneliness. It's a sign of strength. She's learned that in solitude, she can hear her own voice without the noise of the world drowning it out. And that makes her dangerous, not in a harmful way, but in a powerful way, because she's learned to rely on her own inner wisdom instead of the opinions of others. When a woman chooses to spend time alone, she creates a space where she can reflect, recharge, and rediscover herself. She's not afraid of her own thoughts. She's not running from her emotions. She faces them head on, and that makes her stronger than most people can imagine. She's willing to confront her fears, her doubts, and her dreams, because she knows that only by understanding herself can she become the woman she's meant to be. In this space of solitude, she builds a relationship with herself that's unbreakable. She learns what she truly wants in life, what sets her soul on fire, what boundaries she needs to set, and what dreams are worth pursuing. She's not defined by others' expectations. She's not easily swayed by opinions or trends. She's carved her own path. And that path is paved with authenticity and self-love. But let's be clear, this kind of woman is dangerous because she's unstoppable. She's not desperate for approval. She's not controlled by the need to please others. She doesn't shrink herself to fit into anyone else's idea of who she should be. She's a force to be reckoned with, and the world can feel that energy radiating from her. So as we begin this journey to understand why a woman who always spends time alone is very dangerous, I want you to see her not as someone to fear, but as someone to admire, because in her solitude she's found the kind of strength and wisdom that can change the world. Stay tuned, because we're about to uncover the 8 reasons why this kind of woman is the most powerful woman you'll ever meet. She knows her own worth. The woman who spends time alone has discovered something that many people search their entire lives for but never find. She knows her own worth. She doesn't need a partner, friends, or even her family to tell her she's valuable. She's found that value within herself. She's taken the time to dig deep, to explore her strengths, her weaknesses, her passions, and her purpose. She's learned to love herself completely, flaws and all. And that makes her unshakable. You see, when a woman is constantly surrounded by others, she can sometimes lose sight of who she really is. The noise of opinions, expectations, and judgments can drown out her own voice. But when she spends time alone, she learns to listen to herself. She starts to trust her own intuition. She becomes her own biggest fan, her own cheerleader, and her own support system. And that's a kind of confidence that no one can take away from her. This woman doesn't settle for less than she deserves because she knows exactly what she deserves. She's not willing to accept mediocre treatment from anyone, friends, family, partners, or even herself. She set her standards high, not out of arrogance, but out of a deep respect for the person she's become. She knows that her time, energy, and love are valuable resources, and she guards them fiercely. She's learned to say no without guilt. She's learned to walk away from situations that no longer serve her. She's not afraid of being alone because she's discovered that solitude can be a sanctuary, not a prison. A woman who knows her worth doesn't need validation from the outside world. Compliments are nice, but they're not her fuel. She doesn't dress for others. She dresses for herself. She doesn't chase approval. She stands in her own truth. She's not desperate for love because she's already given herself the most important love of all, self-love. And when you've mastered the art of loving yourself, the world can't define your value. You define it. She's dangerous because she's no longer easily manipulated or controlled. She's not vulnerable to flattery or fake promises. She can't be broken by rejection or failure. She's built an inner fortress of self-worth that no one can tear down. She's her own compass, her own anchor, and her own home. She's fierce because she knows that no matter what happens in life, she has herself to fall back on. She's unstoppable because she's learned that her worth is not negotiable. So when you see a woman who chooses to spend time alone, know that she's not weak or lonely, she's empowered, she's a force to be reckoned with, because she's learned the greatest lesson of all. She is enough, just as she is. She's mastered the art of self-reliance. When a woman chooses to spend time alone, she's not just avoiding the chaos of the world. She's cultivating a strength that few can understand. She's mastering the art of self-reliance. She knows that in a world that constantly tries to pull her in different directions, the most reliable person she can depend on is herself. This woman isn't afraid of being alone because she's learned to thrive in her own company. She's her own source of comfort, inspiration, and encouragement. She's learned to embrace silence as an ally, not an enemy. She knows that in that silence, she can hear her own thoughts clearly. And that's where her wisdom grows. She's faced her fears head-on. When the world told her she needed someone else to complete her, she challenged that narrative. She's chosen to complete herself first. She's discovered that the opinions of others hold no power over her happiness. She's not waiting for a knight in shining armor or a friend to validate her worth. She's her own savior, her own hero. Self-reliance means she's built her own foundation, brick by brick. She's taught herself how to manage her emotions, how to handle setbacks, and how to rise again after every fall. She's equipped herself with skills and knowledge, refusing to be dependent on others for her success. She's invested in her dreams, her goals, and her personal growth. She's not afraid to put in the work because she knows the results are worth it. This woman knows that while the world may sometimes let her down, she won't let herself down. She's learned that even in the darkest nights, she can light her own way. She's learned to be resourceful, finding solutions instead of waiting for someone else to fix her problems. She's taken responsibility for her life, refusing to blame others or circumstances for where she is. Her self-reliance isn't born out of bitterness, it's born out of wisdom. She's seen enough of the world to understand that people come and go, but her relationship with herself is forever. She's created a life where she doesn't just survive, she thrives. She's learned that the greatest freedom comes from depending on yourself. That's not to say she doesn't appreciate the support of others, but she's not defined by it. And that's why she's dangerous. She's not someone who can be easily swayed by others' opinions or by life's unpredictable storms. She stands strong because her roots go deep. She's not looking for a handout or someone to save her. She's learned to stand tall on her own 2 feet, even when the ground beneath her shakes. So when you see a woman who's comfortable in her solitude, remember this: she's not weak. She's a warrior of self-reliance. She's unstoppable, unshakable, and unbreakable, because she's built a life where her happiness, peace, and strength come from within. She's proven to herself, time and time again, that she can and will survive and thrive on her own terms. She guards her energy fiercely. A woman who spends time alone has learned to guard her energy fiercely. She understands that her peace, her focus, and her sense of self are precious. Too precious to be given away to just anyone. She's not about to let negative people, drama, or meaningless distractions drain her spirit. She's learned that not every conversation deserves her response. Not every relationship deserves her commitment, and not every opinion deserves her time. She's become a master of saying no, and that no is not a rejection, it's a protection. She's not afraid to walk away from situations or people that drain her light. She's not desperate for approval or validation, and she's not here to please everyone. She knows that sometimes the most powerful thing she can do is protect her peace by setting boundaries that others may not understand. She's selective with her company. She doesn't surround herself with people who gossip, who bring negativity, or who hold her back. She chooses those who inspire her, uplift her, and push her to grow. She'd rather be alone than in bad company. She's not afraid of solitude because she's learned that solitude is where she grows, heals, and recharges. She's cautious with her time and energy. She doesn't waste it on arguments that lead nowhere or on people who refuse to change. She values her mental and emotional health, and she knows that her energy is her currency. She spends it wisely on her goals, her passions, and the things that truly matter. This woman's energy is her superpower. She's realized that when she guards it, she becomes unstoppable. She's not scattered or distracted by every little thing that comes her way. She's focused, disciplined, and intentional. She knows where she's going, and she's determined to get there without letting the noise of the world knock her off her path. She's also learned that her energy attracts what she allows. By protecting it, she attracts better opportunities, healthier relationships, and more fulfilling experiences. She's built a life that aligns with her values and vision, and she's not about to compromise that for anything or anyone. And let's be clear, guarding her energy doesn't mean she's cold or unkind. It means she's wise. She's chosen to invest in herself, to prioritize her well-being, and to honor her journey. She knows that every time she says yes to something that drains her, she's saying no to something that could empower her. So, she's become unapologetic about where she spends her energy. She's careful with her commitments and selective with her time, because she knows that when her energy is strong, her spirit is unbreakable. And that's what makes her dangerous. She's a woman who refuses to let the world drain her. She's a woman who's learned to guard her energy like the rare gem it is. In a world that constantly demands our attention, she's found the courage to protect her own. That's not just power, that's wisdom. And that wisdom is what makes her unstoppable. She's not afraid to let go. A woman who always spends time alone is very dangerous because she's not afraid to let go of what no longer serves her. She's discovered that clinging to the past, whether it's people, habits, or situations, only keeps her stuck in places she's already outgrown. She's realized that growth often means leaving behind what's familiar, even if it's painful. She's learned to release what doesn't align with her vision and her peace. She's not afraid to close doors that lead nowhere, to cut ties with toxic people, or to walk away from opportunities that compromise her values. She knows that holding on to what's meant to go is like carrying dead weight on a journey that demands she be light and free. She's a master at detachment, not because she's cold-hearted, but because she's learned that her peace is worth more than her attachment to the past. She understands that letting go doesn't mean she didn't care. It means she cares enough about herself to prioritize her growth and happiness. She knows that people come and go. Seasons change, and sometimes the only way forward is to release what's holding her back. This woman has faced heartbreak, betrayal, and disappointment, but she's emerged from it all stronger because she's not afraid to let go of the pain. She's allowed herself to grieve, to heal, and to rise again. She doesn't let the past define her. Instead, she uses it as a stepping stone to a better future. She's dangerous because she knows her worth, and she's not afraid to walk away from anything that makes her question it. She's learned that sometimes the most loving thing she can do for herself is to let go, to create space for what's meant to come. She's not attached to outcomes, nor is she desperate for things to work out a certain way. She's learned to trust the process, to have faith that what's meant for her will find her. She's not waiting for someone else to rescue her or to fix her life. She's taken full responsibility for her journey. Letting go is her superpower. It's how she sheds the old to make room for the new. It's how she stays light enough to soar instead of being weighed down by what's behind her. Letting go has made her resilient. It's taught her that endings are not failures, they're redirections. She's become skilled at recognizing when something has run its course, and she's not afraid to release it with grace. She's not bitter, she's better. Because every time she lets go, she grows. She's a woman who's learned that her life is too precious to spend in places that keep her small. She's a woman who's learned that by letting go, she creates space for miracles. And that's why she's dangerous. She's unafraid of change, unafraid of endings, and absolutely fearless about beginning again. In a world that clings, she releases. And in that release, she rises. She knows her own power. A woman who always spends time alone is very dangerous because she's had the time and space to discover her own power. She's no longer afraid of her own strength or the depths of her potential. When she sits in silence with herself, she learns what makes her come alive, what ignites her passion, and what makes her soul feel unstoppable. She understands that she's not just surviving, she's thriving. And that's a force to be reckoned with. She's learned that her power doesn't depend on anyone else's validation. She doesn't need permission to rise or to shine. She doesn't ask for approval to pursue her dreams, to set boundaries, or to live life on her own terms. She's her own compass, guided by her intuition and wisdom, earned through time spent reflecting in solitude. While others may fear being alone, she's embraced it as a gift, a place where she can recharge, refocus, and realign. She's not easily influenced by the noise of the world, because she's grounded in who she is and what she stands for. She's developed a resilience that makes her unshakable. Challenges may come her way, but she faces them head-on with the unwavering belief that she can handle whatever life throws at her. She's a woman who knows her voice carries weight. She doesn't speak to please, she speaks to empower, to uplift, to challenge the status quo. She's aware of her impact and doesn't take it lightly. She's not afraid to stand alone if it means standing up for what's right. Her convictions are unbreakable because she's forged them in the fires of self-discovery. She's dangerous because she doesn't rely on others to fill her cup. She's learned to fill it herself, with self-love, purpose, and faith. She's learned that her power comes from within, and no one can take that from her. She knows that every time she chooses herself, every time she chooses her peace, every time she chooses her path, she's stepping into her greatness. This woman understands that real power is quiet yet undeniable. It's the calm confidence that radiates from her presence, the unspoken energy that commands respect without ever demanding it. She's not boastful, yet her power is felt in every room she walks into. She's magnetic because she's unapologetically herself. She's dangerous because she's stopped doubting her worth. She's learned that she is enough. Always has been, always will be. Her solitude has taught her to trust her instincts, to embrace her imperfections, and to celebrate her uniqueness. She knows that her power doesn't come from fitting in, but from standing out. So when you see a woman who always spends time alone, know that she's not lonely, she's powerful, she's building herself up from the inside out, nurturing the fire within her that no one else can extinguish. And that's why she's dangerous. She's a woman who knows her own power, and nothing can stop her from using it to shape the life she deserves. She has mastered her mind. A woman who always spends time alone is very dangerous because she's mastered her own mind. She's become the captain of her thoughts, steering them toward purpose rather than letting them drift aimlessly. While many fear their own thoughts in silence, she's embraced them, wrestled with them, and learned to turn them into fuel for her growth. When she's alone, she's not bombarded by the noise of other people's expectations, opinions, or drama. She's able to separate her voice from the chatter of the world. She spent hours reflecting on what truly matters, sorting through her beliefs and discarding the ones that no longer serve her. She's learned to question every doubt that tries to limit her and to challenge every fear that dares to hold her back. She's developed a discipline that many can only dream of. She's trained her mind like a warrior trains her body, sharpening it with affirmations, meditations, and a relentless commitment to growth. She understands that her mind is both her greatest weapon and her greatest obstacle, and she's chosen to make it her ally. She knows how to silence the inner critic that tells her she's not good enough. She's learned to flip the script, replacing negativity with powerful, positive beliefs. She's trained herself to recognize self-sabotage and to replace it with self-empowerment. She no longer allows fear to run the show because she's taken back the director's chair in the theater of her own mind.